the lottery code words for Saturday, November 21st, 2009 are bowling, spaniel, cornea. Bowling, spaniel, cornea. Bowling, spaniel, cornea. Okay, so the target for November 21st was focused on two movies that opened that weekend. The first, the big movie, was Twilight, New Moon, which was actually even worse than the first Twilight movie. The only redeeming value it had was the fact that we got to see adorable little Dakota Fanning playing a wonderfully evil, wicked bitch for just a very brief bit in the movie. It was very disappointing that she didn't have a bigger part. You know, I would much prefer to see a whole movie about Dakota Fanning being a vampire than what we get with, Robert Pattinson. And, I think the worst thing about the Twilight saga thus far is that it takes a really interesting actress like Kristen Stewart and just makes her really boring. It's kind of sad. Anyway, enough about Twilight. The other movie was a big surprise to me. It was Planet 51, which is an animated feature. I was a bit dubious about it. Almost didn't go see it because based on the previews, the movie trailers I saw, looked like it had a good chance of being even worse than Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. But as it turned out, it was actually pretty entertaining, very clever, lots of cliche parodies of the sci-fi films of the 50s with the theme of alien invaders. The really interesting thing about this week's code words is the fact that they actually seem to be referencing a scene from the movie Planet 51. Of course, Planet 51 is a oblique reference to the legendary Area 51, where supposedly alien spacecrafts are being housed and experimented upon by the U.S. government. But notwithstanding that, the really interesting thing is the fact that we have a scene in the movie right here. I actually was lucky enough to find in one of the movie trailers a little snippet of the scene where we have the rover, which is, of course, like a Mars rover, only this one is exploring Planet 51, and at one point it ends up inside a bowling alley. I don't know if you can tell that that's actually a lane in a bowling alley, that the rover is actually rolling over one of the aliens who is pursuing him. And of course, as with much of Planet 51, there are lots of little word plays, and in this case the rover is attributed to have dog-like properties in its personality. There it is, delivering a newspaper to its master, who is the astronaut played by The Rock. I do not call him Dwayne Johnson. He is The Rock. And anyway, so we have this interesting little dog-like rover who, his head, if that's what you want to call it, appears to be like a giant eyeball, and it's just quite striking how in some of the scenes you're just looking straight into this giant eyeball with its cornea right there. And then we have the scene where the rover, the dog-like rover, is in a bowling alley. And then, of course, we have the word spaniel, which I did a little research on the etymology of spaniel, and apparently it's actually originally a derogatory term that was used in reference to Spaniards, the sort of referring to Spaniards as synonymous with dogs. So spaniel actually can refer to any small dog, and it's not a specific breed. So it's very interesting when you consider that this movie, much to my surprise, is actually largely produced in Spain. It was a joint British-Spanish production, which just caught me by surprise, because of course you usually expect these CGI animated features to be coming out of Hollywood or perhaps Pixar, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area, but who knew that Spain was capable of producing a very impressive CGI animated feature. So, all in all, we have this remarkable result of what I call the Ouija board effect, where the lottery results in terms of code words seem to be referencing something that was being focused on in conjunction with the lottery drawing. But the other thing that's very interesting about all of this is that I saw the movie Planet 51 the day after the lottery drawing. Let me repeat that. I saw Planet 51 the day after the lottery drawing. So, in principle, I could not possibly have known or pre-imagined these code words, bowling, spaniel, cornea. I mean, the scene in the movie trailer where you see the rover running around inside a bowling alley lasts for less than a second. Less than a second. Maybe less than half a second. So unless you want to say that subliminally it imprinted itself on my mind when I had previously seen the trailers, and somehow I was able to anticipate or influence the lottery results on the day the numbers were drawn that produce these code words, you would have to acknowledge that this is probably a very good example of retro psychokinesis, since there's no doubt in my mind that the effect which produces this Ouija board effect is a form of psychokinesis. It's subconscious because I have no real control over what code words are drawn. There have been a few times when I've focused very intently on a particular code word or combination of code words and had partial success